Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. In today's video, we're going to be previewing the biggest tournament of Regulation F that is coming up. I'll actually be competing in it tomorrow, and I'll be streaming it as well. If you guys want to check that out, make sure to show up tomorrow on Twitch. I'll probably post a link on community link or something. But of course, for those of you who have been kind of keeping up with Regulation F, I mean, this is going to be probably one of the biggest online tournaments of all time. There's 840 registrations. I'll put the link in the description as well if any of you are interested in signing up. And it has a pretty big prize pool as well. So take a look at it, right? Like, it has a prize pool of, where is it here? Prizing for top 8, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for the actual, like, what? Oh, it's on Discord. Okay, well, they used to have it here. Basically, like, the first place player gets, like, a ton of money is basically what it was. Or, like, a ton of money, at least by Pokemon Online tournament standards, right? So that's pretty cool. It's going to be a pretty stacked tournament. I mean, if you look at, like, again, 840 registrations, right? A ton of players are signed up. So we're going to get to see a lot of good competition here. If you guys haven't already signed up, I definitely encourage you to sign up if you're, obviously intrigued or interested. This might be one of the biggest Limitless tournaments of all time, actually. In general, so that's gonna be pretty crazy. But I just wanted to recap some previous tournaments that have been happening on Limitless that will give us some context of what to look forward to. Of course, like, we had a whole run of Regulation F before, but I did spend time in another video reviewing the top 5 teams. So I want to talk about what the meta has looked like on Limitless tournaments recently and whether or not I think that's going to accurately fully reflect what we're seeing. But to start off here, so Spearpillar, this is the oldest tournament of all of them. We saw the first place team here using a Roaring Moon Iron Hands composition. I'd say this is probably a little bit less common than a lot of the stuff you'd see, but Amoonguss, Fluttermane, a really strong core, Wellspring obviously doing well together. Usually when you have these kind of supportive builds, you will see both Ogerpon and Amoonguss stacked together, so it's definitely not too surprising to see there. As we continue down, we see Glimmora, Chi Hyper Offense. I think I slightly mentioned one of this about this team in another video. I hadn't fully mentioned it. And we have Standard Raging Bolt Balance, and we have Gouging Fire making up the top 4. So nothing too crazy. Then we have Tinglu Dozo at number 5, and then we have at number 6 we have the Raging. It's kind of like Raging. I'm assuming that's actually a Solvest Raging Bolt here. We can see, yeah, Solvest Raging Bolt here. Incineroar replacing the common Hisuian Arcanine on that slot. And then over here we have a Tailwind team that we actually haven't seen as much, or at least in this particular version, but it's a Rapid Strike, Hearthflame with Chi, Flutter, Raging Bolt, and Tornadus. So a bit of a unique approach, but still pretty cool. And then we have Maxis here with a Raichu, Dragonite, Goldingo, Urshifu, Tornadus, and Amoonguss. So generally speaking, right, we got some interesting teams here. Tailwind obviously still doing really well, with 3 of them being Tailwind in Top Cut. We have Roaring Moon Balance winning the tournament, which, I mean, I'm sure we'll see variations of it do well anyways. We have the, obviously Tailwind Hyper Offense stuff, and then we have Raging Bolt Balance and Gouging Fire stuff doing well still. So nothing too surprising there. I'd say probably out of all the teams here, the one that, like, looks the most comparable to, like, what I'd expect to see. Like, for example, this team here that got second, I'd expect this team to be very threatening in the tournament because Hyper Offense is just generally strong in these kind of tournaments because you get to play a lot, you get to put on a lot of pressure, or something like Raging Bolt Balance, right, doing well. It's something you could probably expect to see going forward. Then we have the Road to Mérida tournament. So this has featured a lot of Latin players. There were a couple of US players as well, but I wanted to specifically feature this one because it's kind of showcasing all the different regions and what they're playing. This one obviously had a good mix of players. This one's a little bit more Latin focused. So in this one, we actually had an Okidogi win. Okidogi is kind of like this anti-meta niche pick that can do well sometimes. Basically, what it does is it just, when it gets intimidated, it's able to just kind of go nuts with Guard Dog. And it's a really good anti-Incineroar Rillaboom mon. So with Upper Hand, Drain Punch, Poison Jab, Knockoff, it could just be really strong doing that. And then you have Ursaluna with Flame Orb and Eviolite. Then as well too, we have in second place a Farigiraf Balance team with Urshifu, Incin, Amoonguss. So that's actually a little bit unique. So very dedicated to the Trick Room here. This isn't something that you see as much. Usually if you're going to look at this composition, you're going to see a Fluttermane over here to kind of replicate what Nils was doing, but subbing out the Fluttermane for Farigiraf just to have that priority blocking. I find that to be pretty interesting. Then we have the standard Tailwind offense team. This team has just been doing really well in the return to Regulation F, which makes a lot of sense. It's just a really strong offense team. Clear Amulet Hands, really good at pressuring opposing Incineroar. And on the version that I provided on top 5 teams, the one I gave was Assault Vest, but I kind of mentioned there, Clear Amulet, also a very great item choice. And then Over here we have Alt Kyle making up in the top 4. It's going to be using, or he's going to be using Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Chin Pao, Ogerpon, Raging Bolt, Incin, and for draft. So you see a lot of Firewater Grass cores in these top cuts. The Nils team obviously making 5th. Chiyu, Glamora, and Fluttermane being in the top, like I guess sixth place here. Then we have Crown, both Crown teams actually getting 7th and 8th. Another threatening team that's really offensive that you have to be aware of. So these 7 teams obviously being very important to answer. Then we have the Nino Free-For-All 102, which ended up having a Raging Bolt balance win. Not too surprising. Again, really good archetype. Roaring Moon balance, again, placing well here, getting 2nd place. Tinglu, actually, I think this is the exact team I featured, maybe just with a difference on the, yeah, it's loaded dice instead of banned, which is what I provided on mine. And then the Snow team making up top 4. So you see actually right now there's a good bit of variety in the teams being used, and I think that partially comes with Limitless as well, just being like more conducive to that. There also is a team here that I wanted to highlight that I feel like is really threatening, which is this team with Galarian Weezing. If you aren't preparing for this team right now, you're probably doing yourself a bit of a disservice. It's pretty strong in the format right now. It's kind of like a modified version of the team from Kyle Livinghouse at EUIC top 16, I think it was. It was Galarian Weezing, Dragonite, Urshifu, Chin Pao, Iron Hands, and Calyrex Shadow, but obviously in this case they're doing Dondozo Tatsu. But I definitely think you could get away with doing something like Iron Hands over the Tatsu and then a different mon over Dozo, but still, nonetheless, a very threatening team that you have to respect. And then a couple Sun teams actually, or like a Sun team here I noticed, right, with Torkoal, Fluttermane, Entei, Raging Bolt, Chiyu, and Walking Wake. So really just prioritizing that offensive Sun spam, getting a bunch of damage down. And then we see some other teams along the line here as well. So, I mean, it's definitely interesting because in this tournament particularly, we see a lot of the featured teams being a little bit more of what you'd expect, right? Raging Bolt balance. You have the P2 Lando Among Us Incense stuff, and then you have the Dondozo gouging, and then Snow, right? It's another team that's been creeping up. I think Snow's a little matchup fishy, but it's still like good. Then we even have some gouging fire down here as well. A couple of other stuff, Dondozo. So it seems you have to respect Dondozo right now. Then we actually have Raging Bolt balance pulling the 2-peat here, being able to win a 2nd time. Not too surprised. The 2nd place team is actually really interesting. I'm curious what the sets are on this. So Iron Jugulus for a giraffe, Okidogi with Terra Dragon. Terra Dragon and Terra Dark are the 2 most common Terras you usually see on Okidogi. Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, Life Orb Ursaluna, and then we have Incineroar with Terra Fairy. And Throat Chop actually... interesting choice, not running the knockoff that's commonly seen there. Yep, and then overall too, looking down here, we have a Hearthflame, Fluttermane, Blursa, Urshifu for Giraffe, and Rillaboom. Pretty strong archetype in general. I think the main difference is just no Incineroar and replacing that with Blursa. A little bit different there. And then Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Raging Bolt, Urshifu, Hearthflame Mask, Ogerpon, and Incin. Probably the most unique part of this is more so no Rillaboom, but still kind of fitting within the balance category of team. Then we have another Wolf team from Charlotte, right? Just kind of balancing that out. Overall, pretty strong. And then if we look over here, Top Cut specifically, right? Like these are just the Top Cut teams in general. Heatran making an appearance, which is a little bit interesting, but you'll notice again, this Rilla, Incin, Urshifu core is just so dominant because it's just so consistent, right? So it's more or less along the lines of what you'd anticipate, at least for this tournament. And then finally, we have the last tournament before this, which is with Willfire winning with Tinglu, Dondozo, Dragonite, Chin Pao, Golden Go, and Gouging Fire. So again, a team that you really have to respect, especially this inner focus Scale Shot D-Knight. Yep, I'll see it right here. Just a really good mon for being able to break through these balance cores. Again, Snow placing well though. So definitely something you'll also have to respect as well. Again, it's a little bit mashed up fishy, but still very strong. Then we have a team with Chiyu, Fluttermane, Ogerpon Wellspring, Raging Bolt, Dark Ursh, and Iron Treads. Iron Treads a little bit weird. Probably Lando's a bit better, but I mean, it's there. And then we have a Dondozo team making up the top 4. So really Dondozo also kind of having a good run here, you know, popping up a couple of times as well. So I'm curious about the store too. This store was actually, I mean, there were players in it. So like I had a good amount of players. So the representation was a little bit interesting to see. And then a couple of other things. I mean, Mouse Ape here, I don't really expect that to make a huge surgence. I have to say Smeargle is something I actually want to talk about too. I think Smeargle is really threatening in this format, and people just haven't found the best way to use it. But I think Smeargle can definitely be a really annoying Pokemon if you're not prepared for it. So it's definitely something you'd rather you know, C, of course. You're like not C, I guess. But you want to make sure you have counterplay for it. So generally speaking, with all this recap, what do I expect to see as like the top teams, right? So for me, like looking through these standings and like anticipating what's going to be coming in this bigger tournament, I have to say I'm expecting Raging Bolt Balance to be really good. Snow to be on a lot of teams. Chi-Yu Fluttermane offense specifically doing really well as well. The Gouging Fire stuff I kind of mentioned, and just D-Knight Chin Pao in general is just really, really good. But Gouging Fire with Ting Dozo is just like super oppressive, right? I mentioned Snow, I mentioned Chi-Yu, I mentioned Balance, right? And then also too, what I'd probably keep an eye out for is P2 Ursa and P2 Lando. P2 Ursa, P2 Lando definitely strike me as teams that you would have to be aware of. And then again, Snow is just like, you have to make sure you have some kind of matchup for it because it's just too frequent. And then I'd say Hard Trick Room, even though it didn't pop up that much, I'm always aware of it, and Dondozo as well. Like, Hard Trick Room, Dondozo, you always have to make sure you have, like, something for, no matter what format team you're playing, because you don't want to get cheesed, right? So I'd say that's pretty important as well. But yeah, so generally speaking, that's probably what I'd expect from tomorrow's tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a meta preview. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to join this tournament. It's going to be one of the biggest VGC tournaments of all time. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll be streaming that tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, make sure to tune in tomorrow on Twitch. I'll post on the community post when I'm live. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. I'll catch you guys soon. Catch you later. Peace.